It began not with a bang, but with a whisper, a signal. For weeks, SETI dishes, those patient ears pointed to the cosmos, had been catching something strange. Not the usual cosmic static, but a structured, repeating pattern. It was elegant, complex, and undeniably intelligent. The world's scientific community buzzed with a quiet, electric excitement. First contact. It was the moment humanity had dreamed of for centuries. Governments were briefed, protocols were dusted off, and the world held its breath, waiting for the first word from the stars. The message was finally decoded. It was a simple, elegant string of prime numbers, a universal handshake. But then came the second part, a star chart, and a date. Our astronomers cross-referenced the chart, their excitement turning to a cold, creeping dread. The origin point wasn't some distant galaxy. It was just outside our solar system, in the Oort cloud. And the date? It was 3 days from now. They weren't just saying hello, they were announcing their arrival. Panic was a luxury we couldn't afford. While the public was told about a potential, unprecedented astronomical event, behind closed doors every military on Earth scrambled. Satellites were retasked, missile defense systems were brought to full alert, and a unified command structure, something thought impossible just a week prior, was hastily assembled. It was a silent, frantic preparation for a guest who hadn't been invited and whose intentions were terrifyingly unknown. What do you do when a giant is about to knock on your door? You brace for impact. They arrived on schedule with a precision that was chilling, not in a fleet of glittering saucers like in the old movies, but in one single colossal object. It blotted out the stars, a geometric anomaly of impossible scale, a kilometer-long shard of pure black that absorbed all light. It didn't enter orbit, it simply stopped, hanging in the void between Earth and the Moon like a cosmic judgment. It broadcast no signals, opened no doors. It just waited. For a full 24 hours, the world watched the silent, black monolith, and the collective anxiety of 8 billion people became a palpable force. Then it acted. Without warning, a beam of focused energy, thinner than a pencil, shot out from the vessel and struck the Pacific Ocean. There was no explosion, no tidal wave, just a flash. But moments later, our planetary sensor network screamed. The ocean's temperature was rising. Not just in one spot, but globally. The beam had somehow triggered a runaway chain reaction within the water itself, accelerating evaporation on a planetary scale. This wasn't an attack. It was terraforming. They weren't here to conquer us. They were here to replace our environment with one suited to them. The response was swift and desperate. A coordinated volley of nuclear missiles, the pinnacle of humanity's destructive power, was launched from silos and submarines across the globe. We watched on grainy satellite feeds as the warheads streaked toward the silent black ship. It was our only shot, our all-or-nothing gamble. The missiles closed the distance, and then they simply vanished, not exploded, not deflected. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, as if the space they occupied had been deleted from reality. The ship remained, unscratched, indifferent. We had thrown our best punch, and they hadn't even flinched. As the oceans began to steam and the clouds thickened into a permanent soupy haze, the second phase began. Small, drone-like craft, a few meters across, descended from the mothership. They moved with an eerie, silent grace, fanning out across the continents. They didn't attack cities or military bases. They went for the green places, the Amazon, the Congo, the Great Boreal Forests. They sprayed a fine, silvery mist that settled on the foliage. Within hours, the plants began to wither, to dissolve into a gray, nutrient-rich sludge. They were systematically dismantling our biosphere, breaking down our planet's life into its base components. For us on the ground, life became a nightmare. The air grew thick and humid, tasting of salt and decay. The sun became a distant, hazy glow behind the permanent cloud cover. Food chains collapsed. Agriculture failed overnight. Riots and chaos erupted as governments lost control, their promises and authority dissolving along with the forests. We were no longer citizens of nations. We were just survivors on a dying world. watching as our home was methodically disassembled by an enemy we couldn't fight, couldn't understand, and couldn't even talk to. The endgame came a month later. With the atmosphere saturated with water and the land largely sterilized, the mothership finally descended. It landed not in a city, but in the newly formed basin of what was once the Amazon rainforest. Ramps lowered, and for the first time, we saw them. They were not bipedal creatures or insectoids. They were massive aquatic beings like whales fused with bioluminescent jellyfish, floating on cushions of localized anti-gravity. They slid down the ramps and into the steaming, soupy landscape we now called Earth, their new home, perfectly tailored for them. We weren't defeated in a war. We were evicted. We were an inconvenient infestation in a house the new owners wanted to remodel. The few pockets of humanity that remain now live underground, in sealed bunkers and forgotten subway tunnels, listening to the strange, booming songs of the new inhabitants echoing through the planet's crust. We are ghosts on our own world, a footnote in a galactic real estate transaction. We looked to the stars for answers, for connection, and found only a contractor with a demolition order. Our story is now a cautionary tale, whispered in the dark, a reminder that in the vast, silent cosmos, you are not always the one at the top of the food chain. Sometimes, you're just in the way. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If you enjoy stories that explore the vast and sometimes terrifying possibilities of the universe, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let me know in the comments what you would do in this scenario. Until next time, keep watching the skies.